Yo, Everyday Superpower signing in with a quick one. Here we talk body language, non-verbal and verbal communication, game, relationships, and everything in between, alright? I'm going to talk about illegal activity in this one, okay? So, I would never ever do anything illegal. Nor have I ever done anything illegal, but given my class and circumstance growing up, I never involved myself with individuals, but couldn't help but be around a couple of characters who chose a path external to the one society wants you to take, right? Some of them were quite a hindrance on the lawful good. So today I'm going to talk about criminals or, gangster activity and so on and so forth. I spent a lot of time in London, yeah? There's a lot going on in London. There's a lot of knife crime and this and that, okay? A lot of it. And today's conversation and communication is going to be in regards to a little train of thought I want to take us both on in relation to the emotional versus the logical criminal. Okay? And we're going to approach it maybe more so from the small time individual as, those whom are doing it on a larger scale. I've never seen in my life, and we're going to talk about why I haven't seen that, right? So, let's be real, yeah? And I say this confidently, given I share the same background of a less than favourable father figure within the household, yeah? When one is emotionally absent or absent in general, or a criminal themselves, so is absent in the realm of having to be in prison during a lot of the maturity and growing up of the child, one may rely on the mother, okay? Now, when a young boy relies on the mother and is influenced by the mother, it's very easy to take on particular feminine qualities, which can lead into a myriad of different development, right? One of them in particular being a more emotionally driven character. Now, I don't say this to judge purely as this was my own story. I'm a creative. I have been, a little more emotionally unstable myself during my teenage years, given I had no real direction and had to find the masculine figure more so within, alternate realms. And that's where certain young people find the streets and find older men within the streets who can show them a path away, show them how to make money and so forth. And, could quite potentially and do on regular occasion take advantage of the lost child. Right? This is also where the disdain towards authority comes into hand, as when you've never had a strong man tell you what you can and can't do, it becomes quite the trigger when somebody feels like they could do that, whether that be a boss, a teacher, the law, and so on and so forth. Now, that reaction you have towards that, one of anger, is an emotional response. Once again, linking to the feminine. You see how this comes full circle and feeds into itself. So when we see the youth on the streets responding in anger and violence towards one another, very reactionary, one may perceive that as significant of masculinity, whereas it's actually the opposite. It's emotion, highly driven, anger towards the other man. The youth may stab what is representative in their mind of the father who wasn't present, potentially. Now we're talking about emotionally driven criminals here, and I'm speaking very generally about emotionally driven people, okay? This is just theoretical. This is just train of thought. I am not saying I know the answer or I know what I'm seeing. I'm just providing food for thought so we can engage, right? They call it the trap, yeah? It's the trap because it leads to death or it leads to imprisonment. Now you tell me, is taking a road that is 50% heading towards death, is that a form of self-harm? Is that an indirect means of self-harm, if that is the potential, a large-scale potential as to where you're going to go? The cutting of one's wrist, dependent on how deep, may not have a 50-50% chance. But we speak on the trap as if it's 50%, 50%, as no one's getting out of this game. Let's take a route to the other direction, yeah? 50% leads to imprisonment. There's no women in prison. There's no women in prison. We've been brought up by the feminine. We are reacting feminine. And now we are taking a route as to whether we are surrounded by men or dead. You see where I'm coming from? Dressing the part of criminal, looking like one, isn't logical. It's tribal. To fit in with one's own is quite contrary to being an intelligent criminal. Reacting in emotion towards that you shouldn't react to isn't rightful for those whom don't need attention. If anything, asking for attention through whichever means is quite the silly decision to make, given the game you're in doesn't need attention. So, you take an illegal route and you flaunt the activity, whether it be on social media, whether it be in person, whether it be through your clothing, whether it be through your attitude and your communication to others. So then we talk about the self-harm. Isn't this an idea of self-harm purely as what you're doing is going to lead one way or the other, and you're quite literally putting yourself in the firing line to receive one of these two answers? Now, logically, the person who gets up to no good isn't going to be seen as somebody in this manner. This person is not going to be reactionary because logically they can understand that if they attract attention to oneself, they may have provoked an interest of insight into one's background and character. There is no need to fight a battle if your opponent is already subdued and out of the way. The art of war is the art of deception. So why would you go out of your way to be the character that you don't need to be? The rational criminal is going to be blended into society. When we speak of con men, we speak of confidence men, because they spark a belief, a confidence in those whom they scam. And that's through communication. They don't communicate the fact that they are criminals. They communicate I won't say fact. They communicate a smokescreen, a mirage. They keep their hands clean. Law of power, always keep your hands clean. The boss keeps his hands clean. He lets his minions go out and do the dirty work. The Prime Minister keeps his hands clean. He keeps his right-hand man to take the fall. The King keeps his hands clean. The President keeps his hands clean. Those behind the curtain keep their hands clean, and they're criminals. But the majority of the world perceive them as otherwise. Do you see where I'm coming from? Emotional versus logical. It's a consistent inner fight within ourselves to remain sturdy, centered. And when you're surrounded in that realm, given that's the path you do take, to be reactionary is a weakness. To take the bait is a weakness. If I am a rational gangster and I find an emotional boy, an emotional man, I can find out what makes this boy tick, this man tick. I can find out what this individual is lacking in their life easy, and I can utilize that, and I can be that in order to twist and turn the irrational, illogical elements of this man's psyche. My hands are clean because I have the emotional acting on my behalf. You see where we're coming from here, yeah? And as I said initially, I've had to learn how to deal with my emotions. I was fortunate as a teenager to not get into much trouble, where I had plenty of opportunities too. I can't say that for some people who I grew up with, who ended up taking the alternate route, lowering their vibration with groups of individuals who believed there was such thing as fast and easy money. Not all money is good money, that's what they say. And slow money is the best money. Legitimate money is the best money. And those whom are successful in creating less than legal funnels of income can use that incredible intellect and knowledge and apply that to legal income. And truth be told, it's just as dangerous. You've probably got more sharks out there in the legal sense. So if that's what excites you, you can still have the thrill of the chase. It just won't end up with you being as scared. I'm just saying stay safe to everybody. You need to put your head on as long as you're not hurting or taking from civilian people. That's none of my business. But the point still stands. You are not above self-education. You're not above looking within and inside, because in order to play the game, you have to be able to assess, observe, understand your and their reality. One can't be emotional. And this stems across the communication as a whole. You can't be in business, corporations, and react emotionally. Whether you be in an authoritarian position or in a subordinate position. Because not only will you be punished, I'll let you finish that one. I'm signing out. Peace.